looks at this from a well-being quality of life perspective. Right? So what we say is that we have to be careful what kind of consumption we design. In general, if you just let it go, we're likely to hurt ourselves. And this can have policy implications. From a marketer's perspective, also it has implications for, to what degree can I actually help my consumer along? Beyond the simple immediate satisfaction that we measure, to say, okay, I'm happy with this game, I like this game, I like playing it. No, we need to take the next step and say, well, if you keep playing this game, is it like cigarette smoking? It's going to harm you. Or can we change something about this? That actually, when you play this game, at the end of the day, we're helping you along to get a better, become a better person, or change your life. Okay, and that's the implication of this. And the way that can be done is by combining experiences such as self-esteem and self-consistency within the game's positive experiences that actually help you along. And again, please keep in mind, we've chosen the coping framework. And within the coping framework, we explain some variants. We don't explain all of the variants here. And there's really room for research. Okay, if you take a different perspective, you may identify other moderating conditions. Okay, so that may change that main effect. And what I always say is, it cannot be all that bad if all people do it. Okay, we have a smart audience. If they're smart, then why do they choose things that hurt them? Okay. So in that sense, we really need to find out what makes the difference, so that we don't disadvantage people that don't know what they're doing. Okay. All right, so that's those are the implications of what I just presented to you, this small study. And longitudinal surveys would be great on this to see more the long-term impact, because right now we have a cross-sectional study, assuming that people constantly do those things that we've measured. But let's open this up to say, okay, if you continue to stay on your cell phone the whole time, does actually your subjective well-being decrease over time? And then does this moderator actually make a difference? So in that sense, getting closer to the causality in things. All right, and of course generalizability across different kind of populations, across different kinds of experiences, different devices, and so forth. All right, time. I hope I didn't take too much. I didn't see anybody raise their hands. So good. I don't know, should we take questions immediately or should we do that afterwards? Maybe a few questions now and then it's all you. Should we do that? Does anybody have questions?
Are you familiar with the concept of flow from positive psychology?
Absolutely. Very similar.
Yeah, very similar with this escapism.
Yes, absolutely.
Can you differentiate between those two?
The motivation.
Okay.
The motivation is the difference. If you look at the measures, they're very similar to the flow measures as well. And in fact, I've looked at that literature to see, where can we, where's the difference really? And we also have a measure of escape motivation. So the motivation to get into the flow, right? And that's where the difference is. But flow absolutely is a very much related concept.
Because flow is correlated positively with well-being, while this is negative.
Yeah, exactly.
It's negative.
Right.
It's very interesting.
So flow in terms of, say, we're in a Buddhist context, if you get into this flow mindset for other purposes, religious purposes, spiritual purposes maybe, there's probably a very positive impact like we've heard. But this is different. It's sort of like getting away from the problem, kind of.
Okay, thank you for a very interesting presentation. Probably you said this. I'm sorry I came late. I'm just curious to know which escapism experiences you actually looked at. Maybe you said it. And then secondly, you talked about the insights you got from young consumers. I'm wondering whether you also were able to look at the other categories, like men, who is more likely, say, to engage in this?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, the interesting thing about this sample is in terms of population, we have all. So this is not only young consumers. So we have a wide range in demographics in this sample, but predominantly you see students or young people engage in this. So this reflects really the wide range, and the stimulus that we found here is cell phones. We've actually, the original sample is larger. We said personal handheld devices, which includes tablets and all kinds of other things. But the majority reported on cell phones, so we just cut the sample to say cell phones only makes it simpler for us to imagine the context.
What were the dynamics between men, probably genders?
Oh,
Is it cross-cutting the same, or?
I didn't really look at differences there in a descriptive manner, because we were really interested in the linkages. So therefore, we didn't really look at escapism itself across different demographics. That would be easy to do that. Maybe a good point for the actual paper to give people more of an overview of heterogeneity.
The way I understand it is to listen on some experiences covered all sorts of activities. So you differentiated between activities with self-enhancement, high self-enhancement, impact on the well-being of the people. So were you actually able to differentiate to identify which types of activities you get? For example, would reading an e-book using the cell phone would be higher self-enhancement as opposed to playing?
I think, that might be a question to follow up with. However, the way we measure things is to say reading an ebook can be both for you. It depends on you. And for some people, it can be considered self-enhancing. For others, it may not be. Playing that game, online, may be self-enhancing for you, maybe not for me. Okay, so in that sense, the actual, or the specific type of activity, I'm not sure if we can really say or categorize them to say, this is better for you and this is worse. Maybe there's a tendency, to say there's a tendency if you engage in this type of activity. Okay, I'm done. Be happy to chat with you afterwards, and thank you very much for your interest. I think 2 more presentations to go. So Humberto is going to talk to us first about daily activities and material aspirations, TV, Facebook, arts, sports, and friends, time as ultimate resource of happiness.